Welcome once more. I had a message and the name Glenn Hoddle came up. And that sparked a memory, because I always thought Hoddle sounds a little bit like hobble, which is quite ironic for someone who was a footballer, a soccer player. But what team he played for and whatever, I've got no interest in sports anyway. But what's that is also revealing is, let's put this into an everyday context. You've got a house and you have an attic. Now, depending on your organisation, whether you are a sort of person that will write meticulous lists and things, and also whether you can put that list somewhere where you can access it again and not forget where you put the list, you may find that you put things that you don't need so often or no longer look at for a while. You put them in boxes like books and things. You throw everything up into the attic for storage. But there comes a point, if it's not organised, that you'll have boxes and boxes and boxes, and you will have to dig deep, and you may even forget what you've put up there. It's not unlike with the conscious mind. The way I've described it, you cannot land a Boeing 777, as an example, on a cluttered runway. The attic needs to be organised. It needs to be nice, neat boxes. Or do you really need to keep the stuff in the physical aspect to this? Are they things you're just hoarding and just can't part with for sentimental reasons, for example? You don't want to get rid of them, but you've got nowhere to put them in the sort of normal part of the house where you'd spend most of your time in a house. There's often talk of activated pineal gland. What actually is it? You have most likely had glimpses of this when you have what is called one of those aha moments, when a flash of inspiration pops into your mind. It is described as, it comes like a thief in the night, the return of Christ, as it were. To put this into a daily analogy, picture a fluorescent tube light, and they've got a little starter motor that you have to adjust. Because when you switch the light on, if the starter motor isn't adjusted right, you'll get that flicker from that fluorescent tube until it comes on and would appear to be a constant light, although it's a rapid flickering. That is what an activated pineal gland is like. When you get those flashes of inspiration or something just pops into your mind, that aha moment, that is just a tiny little taster. It's an appetizer of what can follow. Imagine stretching that out so it's like that fluorescent tube. It's no longer flickering with time intervals between those flashes of inspiration. It's now at such a rapid firing rate that you're seeing the light in the physical sense, but now in the mental sense. Golgotha means skull. Calvary means cranium. If you look at the end of Genesis, it says Jacob was carried out into Egypt, sealed in the tomb. It's the dreamer, which is in the pineal gland, is dreaming a dream and is asleep. That is what requires waking up within oneself. Because once that is awake, you know that you are God. You know that you are a creator. You know you are an individualized aspect of the creator. because you've gone through all kinds of experiences over many lifetimes. It's like the things in the attic, the things you've put up there a long time ago. Unless you've kept lists and you can find that list and you've itemized everything, you may need to return up to that attic, move some of the boxes that are in the way to get to the ones at the back. Oh, I'd forgotten I've put that up there. Oh, I've been looking for that. That's where it is. Well, backtrack from that. Something must have come into your mind to say, look in the attic to find that item that you seek. Seek and ye shall find. So the idea will pop into your mind. I was asked, am I channeling the Godhead in a recent message? And I would have never have put it in those terms, in those exact words, but effectively, yes. It's not coming in a way consciously aware that it's coming from within me. It's just something that there's a sensation of it pops into the mind. So where does it come from? It's everywhere and nowhere, really. Same as to use Ken Wheeler's analogy, the radio signal. If you smash the radio up, have you got rid of the signal? Where is the signal? You know, with a radio, obviously you can trace it back to the source to find where it's being transmitted from. But this, where do ideas come from? What is an idea? It's got an ID in the word idea. It's an individualized form of EA, the everything and the all, that's within oneself. It's actually coming from the heart. There's a cellular structure to the heart that is like a brain, but it is far more powerful than the brain. The cable is the vagus nerve, the communication between the heart and the brain. The brain is really just a central processing unit, but it can start becoming like an AI, and in the external world, or the perception most have of an AI, that it is taking over the world. That's your conscious mind being reflected. There's a lot of fear of technology and artificial intelligence and humanity being merged with it. What if I was to tell you it's just your perception of the words? It's expressed when people say, so you're saying you're God, you think you're it. Yes. It is informed, so it's informed, and it's technology. Because there is a kind of biological technology going on. If you get a cut on your hand, do you have to consciously instruct the skin to repair itself? Or does that happen automatically? Are you consciously controlling the function of your kidneys, or your liver, or your bowels, or your bladder, or your heart? You can take a conscious control of your breathing, which will then communicate further into the body. That is your access. It's in the breath of God. The Word was made flesh. The Word exists not as a written word. The word is just a label for something, as a way of describing it. Same as the breath. Breathing life into something, but it's taking in oxygen for the physical body, yes. But what you're breathing in to the body is going to be very much dependent on what is going on in the thinking or the not thinking. A classic case of doing the unthinkable. It may be that I move from here, and people would say, well, that's crazy, that's unthinkable, why would you want to move from there? I don't know, is the answer. From this conscious level of perception, I wouldn't know where to look to even speculate as to say how that may or may not become a possibility and become a reality. All I can tell you is it's in the cards. By that I mean I've seen this keep coming up in tarot card readings, the Chariot card about movement. But it may not be physical movement. Have I said this on this video already, or was it on one of the 4 or 5 I've just previously made? I really don't know. So apologies if I've overlapped, but a bit of repetition is no bad thing. Repetition, repeating, it's expressed about the education system as a negative thing. But what about the repetition you did until you learnt to walk? So walking becomes second nature. What about learning to drive, where driving becomes second nature, where reaction becomes a positive thing rather than a negative thing? If there's some imminent danger, like a child has run out on the road, without a second thought, ideally you would put your foot on the brake. But also in the awareness, because you've constantly checked your rear view mirror, that there isn't another vehicle that's right behind you, what they call tailgating. But in that split second, there is that choice of, do you not put your foot on the brake and stop abruptly and do an emergency stop because there's a child that you're going to kill otherwise, and you run the risk of the vehicle running in the back of you, or do you just ignore the child and keep driving through? Because you may have other people in that vehicle. You also have to weigh up all that in that split second. But it's also an indicator of how learning things by repetition until they become second nature, how you can make take an instant action without a second thought. Able in retrospect to say, could I have done it a different way? If I'd have done it a different way, would the outcome have been worse or better? These are all things you can then reflect upon with a particular scene as the one I've described. I hope that you don't actually find yourself in that position. So see it purely as a thought exercise, as a way of explaining something, but don't import it and start worrying about it, because you will create that scene for yourself. We are, after all, magnetic beings. We create, whether we know it or not, we actually create the world around us by our thoughts, by where we focus our attention. If you're worrying about getting a new job, do you really feel that you will get the new job? Or has your focus all been worrying about not getting the job? You would see the results for yourself from that. But even if you are told, on this occasion you've been unsuccessful, and this is something Neville Goddard spoke about, I believe, in one of the testimonies, if not Neville Goddard, not I believe, I recall, that staying focused and I've got the job, out of nowhere came a follow-up phone call, we've had second thoughts, or we've reassessed the situation, or the first person that we offer the job to isn't taking whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. So you're now being offered the job again. This is why you remember the future. You create the outcome, you play the scene out on the way you wish it to be, and you hold true to that. So you are effectively collapsing time. You're creating time in the future. The more you feel that inside yourself, the stronger that energy is, the more you're going to draw that towards yourself. It's not that anybody can't create from imagination, as long as you put the feeling into it. The problem is when you're only half-hearted, or you don't see it through to the end, and you hold true to the feeling you have created. And you don't worry about when it's coming, how it's coming. Don't even try to figure it out, because that puts an element of doubt. you just create that which you wish to see in the feeling. That will begin the process of drawing it towards you, because you remember it's coming from something called created thought. Well, where is this created thought? Can I physically pick it up? There is then this interaction between the created thought and the physical reality, which will then play out. So it can take time, because everything is subject to time, but at the same time you are collapsing time by remembering the future, because you are remembering yourself. You're putting yourself back together. There's the Humpty Dumpty analogy. The eggshell that fractalized into 1,000 pieces. There's your Big Bang Theory. They're just different perceptions of the same story, like everything in this reality. Everything external is a reflection. It's whether we can see what is being reflected and what is it trying to show us about ourselves. That is why you need to turn these things internally and weigh it up in feeling. It's expressed in the scales of justice, the symbol for Libra. It's a divine feminine that is weighing up something, holding a set of scales, and weighing it in the feeling, not in the visual perception of it. Record with the eyes what you're seeing, what you observe, but weigh it up inside. It's not even about making a judgment. The judgment comes when you say that's not possible or that's impossible. You're limiting yourself, you're putting your own boundaries there. You're not expanding those boundaries. It's a simple 1, 2, 3 process. It's being open to the idea. It's accepting the idea as a concept. Now it's proving that concept by going through the experience to know if it's true or not. That is all part of this spiritual growth within this material realm. It is, as Neville Goddard says, test it for yourself. But remember, as Alan Watts said, life is a dance. It's not about trying to get from one place to another in the physical sense. You don't need to try and run somewhere. You don't need to find the highest ground to keep you safe from floods and all this. This is about being in the moment and being in the 100% assurity of that inner knowing that is being proven. You are proving it to yourself. What you create, you are proving to yourself. We'll end this with another thing that everybody, or pretty much everybody, does every day. We're going to play out Genesis. So you take your cell phone in your left hand, because most people are right-handed, so you're more likely to hold it in your left hand. You know you've paid your service provider bill. You know you've got internet connection. You know the battery's 90 to 100%. So you know you've seen it and everything is good. Now you have a black screen. There's nothing on it. So with your right hand, you'd run it maybe across the screen. The right hand of God moved across the faceless void. Then you hit the power button, because you've said in your mind, let there be light, let me switch the phone on. You've seen that it's good because you already know the battery is good, you already know you have internet connection. So you've seen that it's good, you've given the command, shall we say, let there be light, and then it comes to life. So you've just played out Genesis in the action of switching on your cell phone. And not even probably realizing it, you're playing the part of God. It is, as Neville Goddard says, we play all the parts in the the biblical story. In the physical, material outplay, it's very twisted, but as a metaphysical story, no matter how many times it's been redacted, re-edited, obfuscated in numerous ways, if you can see the psychological drama, how it's for the human psyche, how it is a guidebook. Now Moses is not an evil being. Moses is showing you the exits. Moses is lifting up the brass serpent. Just as Moses did with the serpent, you must raise up the Son of Man. The brass is a compound of two metals associated with divine masculine and divine feminine. It's referring to the alchemical marriage, going up into the heavens, which is in the mind. So there is an ascension inside oneself in this world as we perceive it, but it is all upside down. The eyes flip everything over. You can look at schematics of what the eyes see, and you can see that shown in that. It also forms that X. Look at a schematic of the optic nerve as well. You'll see you've got a 1x1. Think of cartoons with, when it's showing a black eye, it's normally like an X over the eye or over both eyes. There's the eye, XXI. But let thine eye be singular, so bringing those two X's together is making that single mutable cross, because a mutable cross is about transformation. So it's to do with the optic nerve and perception with all of this, and finding that IXI. I was distracted there because I thought we've got a kitten tail going in my coffee. They keep trying to drink my coffee. It's like, no. Just off on a little amusing tangent there. They're doing fine. I've got Junus on my lap at the moment. They are growing rapidly. I'd say they're probably, I don't know, at least, well, they're getting probably where they've doubled in size from when they first came. They're a lot more inquisitive. They're a lot more adventurous. They're learning. They're teaching me as much as anything else. What a beautiful experience. So hopefully that has given you a bit more for you to ponder, to internalize, and I'm helping you find those car keys you thought you've lost, because those are the keys to unlock within inside yourself, to find yourself, to find who you truly are, and find that you have this phenomenal power to be able to create and co-create. That is what this game is really all about. For you to remember who you truly are and what you are truly capable of. But you're not going to be given that until you can master yourself. You can master your emotions, because you don't want a psychopath with a gun, shall we say. That's expressed in various events like school shootings. That's effectively what it's saying. One is out of control and has this power in their hands, in the shape of a gun, in the physical outplay. That is what is being shown in that story, or those stories. But how many perceive those stories in that way? Always look at these things from different angles of light, different perceptions. Look at what is being reflected. What is it that is being reflected for you to decode inside yourself? So once again, unconditional love to you all.